Good morning, children. Let's start a new chapter today, and it's a new topic, that is chapter number 4, March, page number 60. So, please, all of you, open your books and pay attention. I'm going to start this new chapter. Let's read the description of the month of March by a keen observer of nature. How does an observer, very keen observer, he notices about the description about the month March? This is what we are going to get in details to learn here in this particular chapter. So let us straight go to the chapter and try to understand it. What does he observe? The observer observed about this month. March is an unpredictable month. One day can be as cold as any in winter, the next as warm as any in spring. In this way, what does the observer find? The month of March is unpredictable. Sometimes it can be as cold as any day in the winter, and suddenly the very next day there can be a change in the weather and it can be as warm as any in spring. This is what the observer notices and finds. It may be as dry as a desert one morning and by sundown as wet as a monsoon night. In this way, there remains a kind of change. Always it can be found a kind of change in the day-to-day weather conditions, especially in the month of March. That is what he finds. Fresh falls of snow in the mountains of Kashmir or Himachal brings chilly winds to the capital. What it could be find more here in this particular month? Fresh falls of snow over the hills, mountains of Kashmir or in the mountains of Himachal Pradesh as well brings very cold winds towards to the capital. Strong winds push clouds up to the freezing heights. The winds blow very strong and they force to the clouds to reach up to the very high hills and freezing places where the snowfalls take place, convert raindrops into ice, and finally those clouds are converted into raindrops, finally into ice. Toss icelets up over the and over again till they are too heavy to bear and let them descend on the earth as hail. Then finally and ultimately the hailstone it occur onto our earth's surface. Isn't it? This is a kind of similar and a continuous changes that it keep on taking place, especially during the month of March. This is what the observer also notices and finds it by himself, and now that is what he is here in this topic describing and relating all his findings for us to read. Take a close look at a hailstone and you will notice that it is of a milky white color and consists of layers of ice like skins on an onion. I think all of you might have seen a hailstone. Sometimes it occurs to our regions too. Whenever such opportunities are found, if you have not seen it closely, you can pick up a hailstone whenever it takes place. Then you can observe it. You yourself will be able to find it out and realize that how it look like. Hailstones are usually found milky white in color, and at the same time they consist of layers of ice. Layers of ice are found in them and they are looked as if those peels of onion, how they are found in layers. In such layers those hailstones are also found. I used to wonder why hailstones did not occur in winter months when it is cold. It made the narrator quite get very confused and very in confusion in state. Why don't these hailstones take place especially during the time of winter when the weather is very cold, but in spring or early summers when it is warm? Why they occur at the time of spring season when the weather is very warm? Spring or early summer time too. Sometimes in spring and sometimes in early summer time too, when the weather conditions are found to be quite warm. Now I know it takes strong winds to make hail. And that makes it to come to realize now for the narrator that what was the reason? The reason behind was that because to convert the rains into hailstones, what it is required, now I know it takes strong winds to make hail. Strong winds are required to convert it into the hailstones. That is what it is found to be. So it is not falling down, especially during the winter season, because in winter season we do not find such strong winds blowing at all. I have often put away my woolens by the middle of the month and taken out my summer clothes, only to put back the cotton and once again get out cardigans and warm socks. So this is what the narrator here now relates his own whatever his according to the situation, as per the situation, whatever the things are required for him, as per the weather conditions, as per the situation's demand, what are the things required, that is what he is mentioning here. I have often put away my woolens by the middle of the month. By the middle of the month of March, what he requires to do, he requires to put out all his woolens. It is no more required woolen clothes in the middle of the month of March, and take out my summer clothes. At that time he requires the summer clothes, very light clothes, isn't it? The type of very light colored and soft clothes it is required in this particular season, only to put back the cottons and once again get out cardigans and warm socks. What they say about May in England can be said of March in India. May in England can be compared with March in India. Never cast cloth till March be out. Here it is told that never cast a cloth till March be out. Here cloth means article of clothing, cast means throw away. This is what the observer finds regarding this particular month of March, and he keeps himself ready for everything, whatever the changes it take place. According to the changes, as per the changes, he is ready to prepare himself to face any type of such weather change which is going to occur in front of him. This is what we come to learn in these few paragraphs, children. Let us go ahead towards to the next paragraph, children. The sun also continues to behave erratically. Now in this month of March, the sun signs are also found to be behaving not in a regular manner. Sometimes it is quite felt as if very strong, whereas sometimes it is not that much strong enough. The sun sign is not that much strong enough. This is what a kind of fluctuations, a kind of irregularity is seen in the shining of the sun too. That is what here meant as the sun is also continues to behave erratically. It comes up earlier by more minutes than it goes down in the evening. Sometimes it is found or seen or it is observed as if the sun has come very earlier in the sky, and sometimes it goes too early to set. This is what a kind of uncertainty it is observed during this particular month of March. Human beings are not the only ones to be fooled by the weather. It is not that found that only human beings are fooled by the weather. Insects said to be endowed with an extra sense of forecasting the weather suffer heavy losses. Even the insects, the creatures, the tiny creatures are also affected. They are also found to be suffering in this type of weather conditions, which is not found to be similar all the time. They are also found to be suffering a lot. That is what the narrator also finds it out over there. Mosquitoes, flies and moths which come out of hiding to pester humans. Usually in this particular month, various kind of insects like mosquitoes, flies and moths are found to be coming out of their hiding places, trying to disturb the human beings. But at the same time, suddenly find the weather turn inclement. They also find that the weather is very inclement. Inclement here it means not pleasant conditions. They find the weather conditions are not that much pleasant enough. This is what they find and are frozen to death. In my diary, I record the first time I hear crickets chirp. In this way, the narrator also now start the diary writing too. When he used to be found to be writing his diaries, what more the various incidents that he likes to note it down in his diaries. And among them, one of the incident is that in this particular month of March, what he finds and writes down in his diary, those sounds of the crickets chirping. The crickets are to be found to be chirping in this particular month. This is also he likes to note it down in his diary. This is usually in the second week of March, probably somewhat earlier in my apartment than in other homes, as I have a long fire burning every winter night. In this way, especially the narrator finds the crickets chirping quite earlier in his house, in his room. Okay, this is usually in the second week of March, probably somewhat earlier in my apartment. Apartment means rooms, than in other homes, as I have a long fire burning every winter night, because usually in the winter nights he used to be burning the fire inside the rooms for a longer period of time, because of which the insects like crickets and all might have been taking shelter in the various corners of his house, so that's what it makes them to chirp quite earlier than in comparison to the other houses or the other localities, what he notices here. A cricket chirp can be a reliable substitute for a thermometer. What he is now here comparing the cricket's chirp with, he is comparing here with that thermometer which is generally used for measurement of heat. So this is what he is trying to make a kind of comparison. The hotter it is, the faster the crickets chirp. More the weather is hot, more the chirping of crickets are found to be faster. If you do not believe me, try the following experiment. Narrator here likes to for us to perform a kind of experiment in order to make a kind of finding whatever we find, in order to judge it, in order to make it sure. He is telling us, instructing us to perform a kind of experiment so that we can feel quite sure about it. Okay, what is the experiment? Let us see. If you do not believe me, try the following experiment. Count the number of chirps per minute. Whose chirps? The insects like cricket chirp. Okay. Divide the total by 4 and add 40. The total will give you the temperature of the room in Fahrenheit. So this is a kind of experiment that he likes to offer us to perform so that we can find out the actual temperature of the room in Fahrenheit where we are living, which he likes to tell us to perform it in practical. This is what we learn in this particular page 41, children, and let us move towards to the page number 42. The vagaries of the weather make holy. Vagaries here it means changes that are difficult to predict or control. The vagaries of the weather make holy. The festival of colors are chancy. Chancy here it means uncertain. The festival of Holi is also found to be occurring quite uncertain in this particular. Sometimes it comes quite earlier, sometimes it comes quite later. There is no any fixed period or certain period when this particular festival of Holi also to be occurred. Holi, the festival of colors, a chancy affair. It usually falls sometime between the latter part of February and end of March. Some years only the young are out with their long tubes, sirens, buckets of colored water and red powder to fight mock battles. So you all know it very well, the festival of Holi and how it is performed and how it is preferred by the various sections of the people, the young, the old, adult, everyone, they participate in this festival, isn't it? Everybody enjoy this festival of color. Everyone, they like to come out in the open and throw colors to one another.